What's up, guys? So I got a request from Dan Ungler regarding why MMA, or my opinion on why I say that MMA doesn't work in the street, and also traditional martial arts don't work in the street. Okay, in the street, you know how people say the street, you know. But I think when people say the street, they're implying asocial versus social violence. Okay, because people, you know, when they say the street, it can just be like, you know, normal street fight, or it's a completely different situation. So I don't know if I'm gonna do any demos. I haven't really, thought about this. I'm just gonna talk to you guys. So there's a lot of issues that have to be understood. First is, under pressure resort to training, right? And your training should be based around the circumstances. Excuse me. So let's start off with the basic idea of this guy being really loud today. What's up, buddy? So, again, I want to start this off making people understand, because I don't think people understand my training. Because like he said that, I've mentioned that I've trained and sparred with people of other styles. I gotta make this really clear to people. I am not primarily a Tai Chi guy. Okay, Tai Chi was one of the last styles I started training. Seriously, in my youth. You know what I mean? I started off with boxing, kickboxing, regular, karate, Aki Jiu-Jitsu. Then I went to traditional Korean karate, Taekwondo, Tangsudo, and during that I started doing Tai Chi. Okay, but while I was doing those styles, because growing up in Brooklyn at that time, everyone was either like a scrapper or somebody who was in some kind of martial arts school. Like, I can't tell you how many people, random people, that we'd be drinking 40, smoking a blunt in the parking lot next to the L train, and like random dudes with the neighbors would be walk by and they'll see us like messing around, like, oh, you want to spar? I can't tell you how many people I've sparred that I didn't even know in the street as a teenager, like just for fun. So it's a different culture that I grew up in, fighting and like spar. It was just everywhere. Okay, so my entire life was surrounded by doing. And then in the early 90s when MMA first started, of course, first thing we were doing was the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu stuff, because that was a thing when UFC 1 came out. So obviously the very first thing that we would do was like go and mess with these guys. And so it's hard for me to express my real experience. Why when I did this channel to begin with, I did it because Tai Chi was a study of body mechanics to me, and it was interesting, and it was something that was unique. And again, I learned Tai Chi from my first teacher was a student who's I think it was his first official certified instructor from William C. Chen, if I'm not mistaken. He's one of the first, if not the first. So he was teaching me as a way to enhance my karate training to hit harder. Okay, Tai Chi to me was a body mechanics study that would help me hit harder. That was all it was about. Okay, so I come from a completely different reference point when it comes to fighting, right? When I was young, I was stupid, I did stupid shit. I did a lot of fights, I was hanging out with bad people, and good people, and I just got into a lot of fights, it's stupid shit, and I've sparred, I've competed, I've done all the stuff, from like the 90s. So I have experience of that kind of stuff, but I've also been in a lot of legitimate life and death situations, like a lot of bad stuff. I've witnessed a lot of bad shit. Just walking down the block on Rockaway Parkway in Canarsie, just trying to walk to the train, at least once a month you're seeing somebody get jumped or something fucked up. It was a different world growing up, and if you want to get an idea, look at rap music, okay? And I want you to look at this group called Onyx, okay? And look at, Throw Your Guns in the Air and the video. That's the era that I grew up in, the kind of people I was hanging around. Now look at any of the rappers today and compare the two, okay? The guys from my generation will eat the guys from the generation, so it's hard for me to describe the kind of personality that I have, because people see the product on the internet, they see one little snapshot of me, so they don't understand. I'm not the Tai Chi guy, okay? I did it because of the study, and what got me to do it on YouTube is because I thought a lot of it was bullshit. I didn't understand the magic Fa Jing tricks. I was like, come on, this is I learned Tai Chi to punch people. I didn't understand. There was no push hands was you learn push hands as a balance game, and also to learn how to make openings to hit people. It wasn't what people see on the internet for me in the 90s, because there was no internet. So I only knew Tai Chi from my teacher and William Chen's book. So that's all I knew. Oh wow, look at this cardinal. Buddy, can you stay there for a second? Show everybody. Oh, he ran away. I hope you guys saw that. So anyway, so I come from a different idea, okay? I want to make sure people understand this, because I'm not the best qualified guy to represent Tai Chi, you know, because I couldn't possibly do it because I have too much other things I would go to, okay? It's not because Tai Chi is not effective, it's just because, you know, your responses in real life when someone, you know, I don't know, I can't say I'm going to just use pure Tai. It's not like, it doesn't work like that. You know, when people come out, you just hit them. You know, whatever happens, happens. All right, so try to bring this back to something. So the problem with MMA, right, is it's trained specifically for context. It's trained under specific rules. You're fighting one person, okay? You have governing sanctions, you have ego and prizes and all this, there's branding and laws and all this, you know, the whole thing you have to look at. So what that does is it breeds a certain training response, okay? So will things that are in MMA be effective in a street fight? Yes, but they'd have to be converted to be trained within the context of the fight. And it's not a fight, it's survival. So we're talking about like social versus asocial violence. The things that you're training to do, right, are not going to be the most effective things in the way that you're doing it. For instance, a lot of the techniques that are done in sport fighting, MMA, kickboxing, karate, you know, the techniques have been changed to adapt to a score-based system where judges need to see you. And even if it's a knockout fight, you're still making points. So most people don't, this is generations already. The way a roundhouse kick's done in the modern way is not good for the street, right? Most of these punches that are done are not good for the street, okay? They're done specifically for an effect within those contexts. Another major issue you're gonna have is when you're dealing with only fighting one opponent, it's very difficult to get out of the tunnel vision effect. And this happens to everybody, even me, of all my experience, when the adrenaline goes up, there's sometimes where I go into this other mode where it's like, I literally can't see, where everything goes black and it's just, I'm feeling stuff out. And like, people say from the outside that I get cold. And to me, it's like, I can't even, it feels like I'm walking in soup. So I know what happens when you get in that super high adrenaline level, you know what I mean? But when you're dealing with like you're constantly dealing with one person and you're dealing with a certain set of techniques, you could be limited to that, right? So for instance, if you're in a cage guy, he's looking to, you know, pound somebody down, he's looking to beat them, right? When you're dealing with, you know, combatives, it's a different game. I want him to be incapacitated as soon as possible. I mean, before he can blink his eye, his consciousness has to go from whatever he was doing to either unconscious or am I gonna die? Okay? I'm talking about on the beat, where he blinks and he's choking on his own blood. That's a different concept, okay? And you have to train with that mentality. Who's gonna do that, all right? So we're talking about traditional martial arts versus, you know, MMA. None of it's meant for the street anymore, because traditional martial arts right now just means that you wear a fancy uniform and you go and attend some like collective social contract thing. Traditional, right, how I was learned, traditional was traditions to martial aspects, which is warfare. So when I learned Taekwondo, like once the class started, this was not a karate school, okay? This is a place where you learn how to disassemble people. And, you know, you can talk all this stuff, but the reality is that the old school guys who know how to actually do this kind of stuff don't get into fights, because you know the outcome is like, if I can do this to them, they can do this to me. So I don't want to get into that if I can avoid it, right? And you're training only that all the time. So it's not that the styles are bad. It's the styles have been trained out of context. They've been adapted to the context, and the intent is completely different. It's a lot different when you're throwing roundhouse kicks at specific targets. You're not gonna, for instance, I guarantee you, if I was allowed to throw a front kick to you in the balls, all these roundhouse kicks that you guys throw, you're gonna stop throwing them. I guarantee you. I guarantee you, if you know in Tai Chi or we have play guitar, that low front kick. Test it in your school. You're sparring with somebody, just throw the front kick right towards his balls. Every time he lifts the knee to throw a fucking roundhouse kick, throw a front kick right to his balls. I guarantee you they're not going to throw the front kick, the round kick the same way anymore. I'm going to show you what I mean. Let's see if I can set this up for you. So, what you see now in like modern MMA, kickboxing, Muay Thai, they're going for a lot of power, right? And they'll be fast. You tend to see this wide, long roundhouse kick, right? You see this. Almost everybody does this now in one variation. The old styles, every single kick comes from here. Every kick. Now people have a variation of a roundhouse kick they call a question mark kick. The question mark kick is very similar to the way roundhouse kick was supposed to be thrown in the old days. But the reason you do it is not to evade the person. The reason you do it is so that you always have a guard interjecting between your kicks. So I'm never going to throw a kick where I don't have a guard in between. So here's my setup, here's my check, here's my second check. And what happens is, like, if the guy pushes in, this knee rests on his iliac crest inside of his hip bone, okay? And then I would use this to jam him up and then come back in. So this knee position is actually a form of guarding, okay? So you would never see this, okay? In a situation where you have multiple opponents, you cannot do this, because if I'm in a crowded space, I can't be making shots like this, okay? My shots have to be here, close, because if there's guys around me, if I'm in the subway, if I'm in a club, if I'm in an elevator, I can't make those moves, okay? So understanding how the styles have adapted to the format, this is very easy for a judge to see, okay? And a lot of extra power. I don't need all that extra power, okay? If I have shoes on, and I kick you with the tip of my shoe, especially with, these have steel toe, by the way, steel toe sneakers. I don't need all the extra power if I kick you in the kneecap. I don't need extra power if I kick you in the balls, okay? So it's the context, right? How the styles have adapted to that context. The other thing I think is, what are my targets and what am I allowed to do, okay? So you guys in traditional martial arts don't work because you're not training like they trained in those days. You don't have the mindset to say, I'm going to tear your throat out with my bare hands. People are like, ugh. But let me tell you, there's guys in the world who really will rip your throat out with their bare hands. That they did that martial art and they train like that and they don't care. Okay? So it's not the style. It's not that MMA is bad. MMA is a great sport. Okay? And there's techniques that can translate and be useful in the real world. But you'd have to take yourself out of that and say, well, how am I going to make this work here? How am I going to get myself out of this mindset where I got this one guy in the cage and I'm going to make points? No. I got this guy and his 5 to 10 friends with bats, knives, or whatever the hell's coming. I got to hit this guy in a way that the first time I touch him, he's incapacitated out of the fight. He's done. Okay? And that's a hard thing people comprehend. I'm not trying to hit you and make a mark or I don't care about that. I want to go home and you're in my way. I have to take you out. Okay, I'm not talking about a date. Okay, you're going to take the, unfortunately, you may have to take the fucking room temperature check. That's the kind of level we're talking about. So, bringing that back into reality, like, oh yeah, well, all fights end in the ground. Let me tell you something, most fights end in the ground because someone got knocked the fuck out. Okay? So, let's talk about, like, how, like, for instance, jiu-jitsu, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I think that there are really great techniques. But in my opinion, for street fighting, you only need to know mount, guard, side control, and the escapes. Because you do not want to be scraping around on the fucking ground on concrete when 3 guys are around you with bats, guns, knives, or stomping your fucking head in. Okay? Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is fucking retarded. There's techniques that should be brought into your library. But you cannot say that's a complete martial art. It is not. Okay? MMA is sloppy boxing, sloppy fucking jiu-jitsu, and sloppy kickboxing. It's great for a sport, and these guys train hard. I wouldn't have to get in a fight with them. But if you're talking about who has a higher chance of survival, okay? Somebody who's been doing like hardcore Krav Maga or some like, combatives program where they're teaching you to rip someone's eyes out, kick them in the balls, bite them, or some MMA guy. And the proof is in the pudding because you can see historically in the record how many MMA guys have died trying to be tough guys. You cannot be in a fight and pull guard or hug somebody. There's another, an actual, I think the last one I saw, it might have been some, like, it was like a big MMA dude who tried to break up a fight in front of a bar and he died. I think someone punched him, they got like jumped by 3 or 4 people, something like that. It was on YouTube. You can't think like that, it's not gonna work, and then you have this bravado, think it's gonna work. I'm not tough, okay? You know, it's just that I've been through so much shit that when it comes down to getting into this shit, I don't give a fuck, because I understand this is what the deal is. I don't want to fight, but I want to go home, and I understand what pain feels like, and I don't want to feel that, so I'm going to do to you as dirty as I fucking can so I can go home. That's a different mentality. I'm going to do dirty shit all the time at every chance I get. Any chance I get, because I'm a pussy. Okay? That's the mentality. You know? Like when you're constantly doing MMA, you're thinking, all right, you know, I can't intentionally graze his eyes. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to put my thumb in his eyes if I'm in a clinch. You know what I'm saying? Like if we're in a clinch, I'm going to take my hand, put my thumb in your throat, or I'm going to grab you by the eye socket and put my hand in your eye and peel your head back. Okay? So this is the things you're not getting. Like traditional martial arts, if you talk about tradition, is warfare. How do I disassemble you as fast as possible? You grab me, I'm not going to sit here trying to make you tap out. I'm going to rip something off your fucking body. I'm going to break something. So that mentality has to change. The idea of pressure testing in situations has to, you know, you have to get like, how am I going to make that work? And if you're doing MMA and you're trying, so I can do for the street, okay, fine. Get yourself a bunch of white t-shirts with red markers, okay? And then go play in your school, you versus 3 people, and see how you do with your fucking jiu-jitsu. It's not going to go well for you, okay? It doesn't go well for anybody. And you know how my master taught me knife defense? Cut you here, no sweat, kill him. So we're taught, sacrifice the outside limb and kill him. That's traditional martial arts, okay? He has a knife, I'm gonna sacrifice his arm, and I'm gonna go immediately on the first cut. He hits me, I assume I'm cut and bleeding, and I tear him the fuck apart. And I go through him within 3 seconds. Not a long battle, okay? He cuts me, I rip his face off. I slam his head into the concrete and stomp his head, and then I look for the next guy. You got any friends? Who else wants to fucking play? Who else wants to go? That's a different mentality than, hey, tough guy, what's up? I don't give a fuck about that. You know what I mean? So, a lot of these problems come to how you're playing and dealing with the game. For instance, when I teach push hands, to me, push hands is not about pushing the guy. Okay? Push hands is about finding ways to deal with the bridge crossing and how to get in and make contact with full body power. So the pushes are supposed to be practicing strikes. So if I cut you here and I push you full body and you feel my entire body weight go through you, if I change the frequency and make it go faster, the velocity, and I hit you in the floating rib, or I hit you in the solar plexus, or I hit you in the liver, or I hit you in the jaw, it's a different effect, okay? So the idea that we're trying, I want you to think of it like sword fighting, right? How the Japanese look at sword fighting. Somebody says, hey, run your shit, no, chill, and then as soon as we're about to make, it says he goes for his cut, I go for my cut, and your cut has to be effective enough to take him down, okay? Take him down, or at least incapacitate him enough that you can do something else, either checking for the next attacker or get the fuck out of the way. Let's take a traditional karate, taekwondo, reverse punch, okay? The reverse punch is the most effective punch because you can't see it, it's coming straight at you. It's like you're getting hit with a post right in the face. I don't care how, you know, you could be a 100-pound chick and you hit somebody square with a good reverse punch, their face could be busted the fuck up, okay? You're gonna have a couple of seconds where they're like rocked back and they're like choking on blood and blood splitting on their face. You know, they may still be pissed off and come at you, but in that little second gap where he's catching his head, you can either be A, running, 2, hitting somebody else, or 3, finishing the job. This is a different mentality, okay? When you see technique like this, in Taekwondo, right, Yapsudo, I mean, you don't think that it can be used because you don't have the balls to do it. You have to train with the mentality and do pressure testing. Someone's coming at you, and you purposely go back at them and put that in your brain. and put yourself in that warrior mindset. He's coming at me, I'm coming at you, but the end game has to change. Because I have to think, he has to go down from this one shot, so I'm going to train it. I'm going to hit him in the cranial suture, I'm going to hit him in the side of the nose so I can take his nose and put it to the other side of his eye, okay? So I know when I hit him with this technique, he's going to be incapacitated enough time for me to escape or finish the job, okay? That's a lot different than trying to beat somebody up for points and trying to get an effect and make his face swollen, okay? You're trying to break him, okay? Break his kneecap, kick him in the balls, rip out his eyes, tear out his throat, okay? That's a different mentality, and you have to train like that. Because if you don't, your reaction is going to be that. You're not going to think, this bad guy is robbing the store, I'm going to try to tackle him and do some jujitsu shit. No, okay? If you get him down on the ground, you stomp his head like a fucking cockroach until he doesn't move anymore. That's a different mentality, okay? And while you're doing that, you have to be thinking, where's the next guy? So that's why traditional martial arts are trained this way. You know, you gotta think, like, you're surrounded by people. The first one that comes next, this is like, for instance, a theory, how you dealing with multiple attackers, right? So let's just say that there's a few people around you, just completely surrounded. Whoever gets closest to you first, whoever you have the cleanest shot on first, you immediately turn to that person and you do the most horrible fucking thing that you could possibly do, this at the easiest access, and then you take his space in the circle. So this guy's talking, and I just take my fingers, I go right in his eye sockets, and then I step behind him and throw him into the circle. Now my back's to the outside, I have him in front of me. And then I continue this process till I can leave. Okay? That's a different head. And, you know, not saying that MMA or traditional martial arts would not help you with that, but you have to be honest with yourself and understand, because that's another problem. Like, a lot of fighters, they don't understand that a fight and survival are not the same. Traditional martial arts were supposed to be trained for survival, and the survival in mind, and this warrior ethic of you are preparing for death. You're not preparing for a fight. You're preparing against a situation where someone's trying to kill you and your family, and you have to make sure you take them out. So when you're doing a punch, you're not going, yeah, you're trying every time. Kill, 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 over and over and over again, okay? Where am I hitting him? I'm hitting him in the soul punches, so when he hits the top like that, he's gonna punch over, I'm gonna grab the head, fucking knee him in the face. This is a different mentality, okay? I'm not looking to set up a wrong game and figure out this guy's plan. I don't care about points. Whatever opportunity he gives me to take something off his body, that's the opportunity I'm gonna take. That's completely different, okay? You also understand, I said this before in other of my videos, about the first time I ever knocked somebody out. And it changed I was 16 years old in this pool hall, I said it in another video, and it changed my entire idea of training because this guy was huge. I was 16, and he had my back against the wall, and I looked at this motherfucker, I didn't know what to do. And he picked his hands up and said, oh shit, and I just blasted him around his kid. He's on the fucking floor unconscious. And I thought, this was shit. He didn't pick up his hands, I would have been in a lot of fucking trouble. I would have been in a lot of fucking trouble. And that stuck in the back of my head, and I changed the way I trained from that moment on. Because you're going to respond to certain stimulus. What's the trigger of response? What kind of situations are you used to seeing? Do you have situational awareness trained into you? Are you doing, you know, if you've never been in the hood, you've never seen a robbery, you've never seen anybody get stabbed in real life, you probably should go meet people who have and do situational training to see, do I have the reasoning skills to deal with this under pressure? Because under pressure, your brain power goes down to like 2%. You're fucking retarded. You see what I'm saying? So under pressure, you're gonna resort to training. And if your training is if you get cracked to go and try to clinch the guy, you're in deep shit. Because that's a main issue. You're gonna get hit. You're gonna get rocked. Okay? You're in a situation, most likely you're gonna wind up cut, bruised in the hospital. I mean, I've been stabbed, shot at, hit with bats, like fucking, I have scars all over me, okay? You gotta understand that you're gonna get in that situation where you're gonna get fucking rocked. You're gonna get hit, and if you don't keep going, you're gonna be in a lot of trouble. You know what I'm saying? So, what are you gonna do? How are you gonna respond to getting hit? right? When you get hit and now you're bleeding, is your first response going to be to try to tackle somebody and ground and pound them and hump them when his buddies are on top of you, hitting you in the back of the head? That's not cool, okay? Traditional martial arts, you see all these standing up tall like this. Why? Because I'm keeping everything at even distance away from you, keeping my balance, and my even Wing Chun, I think, is practiced very poorly for the most part. You don't want to be practicing Wing Chun. Can you see this thing? Let's just say this is my guy, my dummy, right? Most people sitting there practicing Wing Chun like this, right? None of the styles are meant to work that way. It's once I make bridge, I want to be here and go through this guy. So on first contact, I'm going to hit him. We can call it entry, follow, finish, right? I'm going to enter, I'm going to tear something off of him, and I'm going to remove myself from the situation within the first sequence. So if he misses and I get to touch him, he should be done. Because if I punch him in the throat and tap him in the eyeball, and then kick him in the fucking kneecap and walk away, he should not be able to follow me. If he is, the martial arts are bullshit. So it's not the martial art, it's how you're applying, right? MMA does not have any high lethality techniques because it's not supposed to. It's a sport. They're not training you to grab the guy, lift his neck, and hit him in the throat with your elbow. Like in Taekwondo, you have this move here, back fist parry, right? Get behind his head. What do you think this is? You know what I mean? So we're training to hit you in the throat, okay? Wing Chun, all these moves, they're not trained to punch you in the face. They're trained to punch you in the throat and to continue through you. This modern idea of all this, no. Once I get this chain set up and I hit him the first time, I'm gonna go in, take his ass down, and then keep going. You got any fucking friends who else wants to play? What's up? You're not training like that. So that's my point. You know what I mean? It's like you can't compare the mentality that you need to survive a knife attack, a gun attack, a rape, carjacking, school shooting. Your MMA is not preparing you for that. Traditional martial arts should have prepared you for that, but you don't train it. Now, if you train traditional martial arts as hard as they train MMA, there's no chance. With the intent. Even in Machida generation, you know, he did a thing show to come, right? They don't teach the techniques the old way because it's been codified for sport. So even their martial arts are still not the old way. There's moves that are lost. They're completely lost. Hidden things in the kata that are completely lost. So what these people understand, I'm not the Tai Chi guy, okay? I just liked Tai Chi. I thought it was the most interesting thing I could share with people that I decoded a lot of the bullshit. So I wanted to share that with the world. But somehow people got it twisted and think I'm one of these guys. I am not, okay? So I went and dissected Tai Chi, and I learned it from a lot of, I went searching. I walked the corridor. I searched and searched. I met hundreds of people, not just in Tai Chi, I did with everything. Every time I study something, I go hardcore, okay, as long as I possibly can. So I get as much as I can with it. Tai Chi was there's so much that's divide and split that it never ends. The pitting it back together never ends. So what am I trying to tell you? I went through a lot of trouble to figure out how does the Tai Chi work in application for fighting, okay? So how I look at it, what I think it is, not what you think it is. Styles don't beat people. People beat people by practicing a certain way, okay? It's like, for instance, a southpaw boxer versus an orthodox boxer. Oh, well, who wins? Oh, the southpaw has the advantage because, no, they don't. They're equal footing. One guy has his game, the other guy has his game. A short guy versus a tall guy. A really big fat guy versus a really skinny guy. Each have attributes that will help them, okay? And if they use those attributes correctly, they will come victorious in that situation. There's too many variables to say why you'd win a fight. And a lot of it's fucking luck. A lot of it's just being fucking lucky. So someone says, oh, this style is the best, and that's bullshit, okay? It's bullshit, because I can tell you, Mike Tyson can train your ass, and you can get beat by a bit because you just didn't apply it correctly. There is no, this style is the best. That's stupid. There's a style that's best for your body, for your mindset, for the place you're living in. That may be true. to say that MMA is the best, you're an idiot. Okay? MMA is not even a real style. MMA is a collaboration of boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, and Jiu-Jitsu, right? And it's usually kind of sloppy comparative to the people who isolate their training in those practices. You never see these, MMA guys go into any other one-off competition and do well. They get shitted on, okay, by specialists. It's only the cream of the crop, super high, top 5% athletes are at that level where they can do it all. Okay, so what that proves is that it's not a style that makes a difference. It is how you train, who you're training with, why you're training, the context of the training, okay? If you're saying Tai Chi doesn't work, it doesn't work because you're not using correctly, you're not training it correctly, you didn't have the intent. How do I make this work? I keep going back to this. If you look up what modern combatives is, and look up the combative fence, the first move of every single Tai Chi form is the fence, okay? You can look this up. There's 1,000 guys teaching combatives that will teach you this. Tai Chi, the first move is the fence. What other style puts up the combative fence as their first move as a default? And you can tell me it's not an effective style. That the Emperor's bodyguards were learning this style. That there's no, come on guys, okay? So what am I trying to say to you is that you can't say that, well, this style is the best. No, you gotta say, well, this style has something interesting. They do this way, and it works in these conditions, but it won't work in these conditions. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has some really epic shit in it. But let me tell you something, if it's a fucking 100 degrees and you're wearing nothing but a tank top and shorts, you do not want to be rolling around the fucking concrete when there's 5 guys trying to beat your ass. Okay? That's a stupid fucking thing to do. So I tell people, I tell all my students, always go train other schools. 1, I want them to see the difference between how I teach them, how other people teach. 2, I want them to experience feeling different stuff. And 3, I want them to see what you can use and what you can't. Like, what's going to be useful to you to take and put in your library. I also don't believe in this religious idea of martial arts where I do MMA and I do Kung Fu and I do Taekwondo and it's me and my style versus your style. It's stupid. What I'm debating is, Tai Chi, I'm debating truth, not Tai Chi being better or worse. I'm debating the fact that people aren't practicing correctly, the history is wrong, and they're perpetuating bullshit. There is no best style. That doesn't exist, okay? There's the best system for you and how you can possibly train it. Now, in my opinion, the old karate, old Taekwondo style, the original style, the very first one, if you're willing to go through the suffering and spend 2 years, at least 3 days a week, 2 hours a day, at least, training it with the intent to destroy and kill an aggressive person who's trying to hurt your family, in my opinion, that's the best style. Why? Because there's only 12 moves and you're just trying to blast the motherfucker's face off. Okay? For the average person, you only need a finger jab, a reverse punch, and a front kick to the balls and a knee. Okay? That's really all you're gonna need for the most person, I'd rather see someone practicing 3 techniques that they can break a brick with. Because you know that if someone comes up to you, give me your money, and I go bang, and I hit you straight in your face. So, sorry, the camera cut. So, that's the idea, okay? I hope that I've heard that. Maybe some more techniques that I think, I think the idea of how people present themselves, your formal fighting positions, and having a guard, right? Like, and that's why you can see me slip so many different styles. You'll see me pick up my hand like a box, because I've done all these styles and they're inbred into me, so I can play that game. But in reality, I'm not going to do any of that, okay? I'm going to stand like this, because this is my fighting stance in real life. I'm going to be here. Right? I'm going to be unaware. Someone's coming from random fucking places. I'm trying to pay for something, and I feel somebody or see something from behind me, right? And someone's coming. I don't have time to think of some move. I'm going to take my credit card and I'm going to slice you in the fucking eyeball. You get what I'm saying? So, that concept of how I'm going to apply the techniques. Yapsuda, right? If I take a plate or a credit card or a pen or anything and I can go like this is my Yapsuda. That's another thing. In my style, in Taekwondo, we don't do weapons because weapons are an extension of the body. So every single move we have, I put a weapon in, it's supposed to become an extension. So if I have a knife, I'm just going to do the regular Taekwondo form. Okay, so with the knife, okay, we just apply with the form. But if you aren't taught that, and to have that mentality, you're not going to do it. So this is what I'm saying again, there are no best martial arts. There's best practices, there's best intention, okay? What else can I say about this? I want to make sure people understand, because they get the wrong idea, and there's so many other people's opinions they get put on top of me, like it's my opinion, because I do a certain martial art, or whatever, and I don't show a lot of it because there's 1,000 guys who are teaching boxing, who are teaching, you know, kickboxing and all this stuff. My teacher didn't want me to teach karate. You know, 2000, right before the Trade Center, he was like, he didn't want anybody else to learn it. And he was like, doesn't want me to even teach anymore. So I adapted by teaching the techniques. I actually created a system by reducing the techniques and not teaching the forms just to honor his wishes. But it's difficult to try to get us out, and it's always gonna be fucking drama. Mercury retrograde, so I'll probably sound a little fucking half done retarded. But that's the idea, you know. I would say most of the stuff is not practical. Most of the stuff you would do in sport is not practical for a street situation because you don't have the time to set up, and you shouldn't be on the guard like, okay, let's go, bro, let's go. Because once I do this and square off to one person, I've now closed myself off to all other angles, right? I don't have that, right? If I put my hands on the guard, I have to be guarding, but I have to be thinking about what else is happening at the same time. A good trick, I'll share some of my secrets with you, okay? Instead of looking at the opponent, and it's gonna sound crazy, look down. So if you're surrounded, you look down. Why? So that's what, because your peripheral vision, okay? If I look down, I now can see almost about 350 degrees, or something like 320 degrees, I forgot exactly what it was. But by looking down, I can see people coming towards me. So if he's in front of me, I look down, looking at his feet, I'm looking for the, right? So now I can see behind me. Whoever comes into the circle first, circle protection, right? So if I feel like he's coming to my finger radius, whoever gets there first, that's the one I turn to, that's the one I focus on, and I charge his ass and I go through him. So when I go through him, I want to hit him in passing. So if I'm hitting him here, I'm going to hit him and go this way and try to get behind him. So it should look more like, instead of me doing this, I'm going to do this. Okay? Why? Because I need to continue to move. What the fuck? Who's back? What's up? Okay? It's a different mindset. Alright? So how you're applying techniques, when you see the karate form they're teaching, all these sharp movements like this, right? Why? Because the idea is that he comes down and they go, ah! And I just run through him. Okay? It's not going to be this fight thing. And just like, ah! Boom! And I just go through. Okay? You hit this dude and you keep going. And you don't even care what the effect was. You hit him and you go through him, and then you get out the circle, and now you get who gets hit next. Okay? You're there, you get hit next. Who's there? You get hit next. One for you, one for you, one for you. You have to train that. So, first down, we have to spar 3-on-1. Okay? It's a beat. Your first down black belt test in my school is not a test. It's a, you're getting beat into a gang. That's all it is. You just get beat up. But it's a different mentality. Okay? So, I mean, and just to wrap, I mean, yes, I've sparred everyone. I've tested my shit against everyone. And that's another thing. I would purposely say if I'm practicing Wing Chun I did Wing Chun for a little less than a year. I wanted to learn the concept. So when I'm sparring people, I would force myself to stay in that game and get hit. Okay? If I'm doing, like when I first started doing Tai Chi, I would go to my Taekwondo class and I would let the students come at me and try to use the Tai Chi to block and hit. Alright? And let them beat me up. That's different. Okay? I've had jiu-jitsu guys, Greco-Roman, I'm talking about very high level Greco-Roman collegiate wrestlers, jiu-jitsu guys, like Olympic judo people. I've gone and had them come at me, bro. Because there's no other way to know. And if I felt like something was off, I said, yo, can you please do that again? And I would do that until I got a way to defend against it. Okay? For me, jiu-jitsu was just, I just wanted to focus on the escape. I did jiu-jitsu before the BBJ stuff came out. And I just went into, like, I wanted to learn, okay, what the hell are you guys doing? But as soon as I saw that shit, I'm like, yo, you motherfuckers ain't never been to the projects or to, like, a school in the city. Because that shit ain't good. Okay? You try to go to any school in New York City and watch anybody get jumped and tell me that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is some shit you want to have in your pocket. Fuck no. You want the escapes. You definitely want the escapes. The escapes are genius, right? But why? I don't have 10 seconds for a blood choke, okay? 10 seconds, you're dead. 3 seconds is a long time in a fight. And we always say this, like, your survival ratio. If I get into a fight with a professional MMA guy, if I have 15 seconds, okay? If I land in the 15 seconds, this guy's done. But if I don't land those 15 seconds, so this is how it looks. Traditional martial arts versus like a sport fighter. Survival ratio, first 15 seconds, okay? The traditional guy has all the advantage. If that professional fighter can last past the first 15 seconds, the survival ratio changes really fucking quick. Really quick. This is the same thing when dealing with a sport fighter to somebody in the street who's trying to rob you. You have 3 seconds after you make your move, okay? At that point, everything else is extra. Everything else is extra. If you're spending more than 3 seconds on each target, you are in deep shit. You are in deep shit, okay? Just watch any video of anywhere of people getting jumped in the street, okay? You have 3 seconds, okay? 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. That's way too much time for you to be on one person, okay? Think about this. I hit this guy and I have him on the wall. I push him up on the wall against the cage. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. I'm over here with your brother. I go 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, bang! Okay? You gotta start thinking. It's not gonna work like that. Okay? You go like, all right, I got this guy, and he's on the wall, he's getting lit up, and he takes a knife out, and he starts stabbing you, and you don't even feel the first hit. That's usually what happens. You're gonna get shit in the fucking spleen and the liver, and you're gonna be still hitting the guy, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, what? And now you're leaking. Now you're leaking. That's different world. Okay? Different world. Can Tai Chi deal with that? Fuck yes it can. But not the way you're practicing it. You understand? You have to think like that. You have to think. There's people trying to rob you with guns and knives. How are you training your shit? Okay? How are you making the Tai Chi work for you? How are you making boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, Kung Fu, whatever the fuck you're doing? How are you making it work? Not the style. The style doesn't do anything. That's like to say that one style is better than the other is like saying one language is better than the other. Right? Does it matter what language you're speaking? I can speak fucking 180 languages and tell somebody I want a glass of water. Do I get the water? I don't get the water if I have a bad accent, right? Or I'm using the wrong dialect for the place I'm in. Okay? So, Dan Ungler, I hope that was enough for you, brother. Any more questions, let me know. And Mercury retrograde, so I may sound a little deep, but you'll deal with it. Later.